Hi there, friends! Welcome to Eye on the Storm with fancy new overlays that match the ones we had during Brawl Night. You will recognize them. Thank you to Ishtara for doing that. You'll see Ishtara in the chat, that mod right there. Tell him he's awesome, please. And I am here with a guest host that is not Gillyweed. Hi there, friends! Welcome
It
is actually Kyberries.
Fancy. Hello.
And she is someone you probably know very well. She's been around and as a co-host and streamer for quite some time. But we've never had on our show before this guy right here. It's Shot.
Hey guys, what's up?
Could you introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about who you are and what you do and why you're here?
Yeah, of course. I am Austin Shot Lancert. I am the team ranged flex player for cognitive gaming, and what I do is I game professionally for cognitive gaming. But so I am the main flex player on our team, and we just got into the round of 8, so that's why I'm here.
Awesome. And as you guys probably know, but you might not if you're joining us for the first time, this is Eye on the Storm. It's a show where we talk about Heroes of the Storm, we talk about community goings on, as well as talk about the game itself and strategy and things you can learn about the heroes. So please join us as we wander down this lane of heroes wonderment. And we are on Misscliks. This is a channel that is built around supporting and providing exposure for women role models in geek and gaming culture. And that is something that all these shows try to do, so we say thank you, Misscliks, and if you guys want to check them out, please do click that follow button, support them with a subscribe button, find them on Twitter. Great people. But let's get right into our show, because we did start a little bit late. So I know we, what did we plan to start with? We were going to start with a little discussion about how Cognitive Shot came to be. Tell us a little bit about your team history, Shot.
Our team history? Okay. So I was a free agent for a very long while, and then I met a player named Proteges, and I joined a team with him, and it became a Heroes Hype Arcane. If you guys are familiar, there was Heroes Hype back in the day, and they were a majors team. They participated in a lot of tournaments, and then Miss Honey, who worked as Heroes Hype at the time, wanted to make a second team and call it Heroes Hype Arcane. So I met a friend of mine, Proteges, through that, and then eventually the team moved on. Players got better deals, moved to other teams, and eventually Proto landed on a team called Lunatic Esports, which used to be Vivid Gaming, if you remember back in the day of Majors Season 1. And so they were looking for a replacement for a player, or they were having roster issues, don't really remember. So then Proto gave me a shout out, and I went and tried out for them, and I made the cut. So ever since then, we've been trucking along, trying to improve ourselves, and with a few roster swaps here and there. And eventually we moved from Lunatic into Shot in the Bullets Reloaded, because we moved away from our brand. We moved away from our organization just to be free agents, basically, until season 2 of halfway through season 2 of Majors, Cognitive noticed us and wanted to pick us up. So now we're Cognitive, and we're working really, really hard to improve ourselves and make it all the way through this bracket next weekend.
Yeah, you guys have been showing some pretty impressive results, and we did see you in the NA Open last weekend. We've seen you in NA Opens before, and that's one of the things that we wanted to go ahead and talk about to begin our show today. We're going to talk about, for our community discussion, kind of the road to BlizzCon, what's going on so far in the Heroes World Championship. So let's start a little bit, actually, with your training regimen with Cognitive. I know that you guys have a unique living situation, right?
Yeah, we all got moved out here by Cognitive Gaming. We all live in San Jose, California, and we all actually don't live in a gaming house. We live in apartments. We have 2 apartments that we live in, and we all come to a LAN center called AFK Esports, and we have our own special room there, our own team room, and we practice from about noon. We get in at noon, and then we work until 10 o'clock with about 2 hours off throughout the day. So an 8-hour work day. And then that's not including our own individual improvement.
That's awesome.
So it's really, really cool, our setup. We have our really big, nice plasma screen TV for replays. All of our computers are like in a line. We have our manager. He has his own setup. It's really, really cool.
Are you at the AFK Lounge right now?
I am. I am at AFK Sports Gamer Lounge. Yes.
Because I can see at least one gaming chair behind you.
Yes. Yeah. I have about 5 in here right now. So.
Cool.
So, do you have your own PC at home that you work on as well, or do you only ever get on your PC when you're at AFK Gamer Lounge?
Do you mean like in my apartment? Do I have a PC up
Yeah.
there? Oh, I don't have a PC up in the apartment. I didn't bring a PC because they were providing us with some, and I had to keep mine at home for family reasons because they needed a computer, and I was usually on it. So I donated my computer to my family. But all of us use PCs that have been provided to us, really top of the line. Every computer station has them. We have slightly better ones, but the only person on our team that uses their own PC really is Glaurung.
And how long have you been living there?
I personally have been living here for about 2.5 months, almost 3 months, and the rest of my team have. Hospital's been here for about 2.5 months. Sai's been here for 2 months, and then Ayakona and Glaurung are recent additions to our team, so they just moved in like 3 weeks ago.
Do you think that it gives you guys an advantage being there all together in real life?
I definitely do. The advantage of all living together is we're able to brainstorm, we're able to create a team synergy that's not really present in just online teams because we're all friends in real life now. We hang out, we play other video games together, we go eat together, we talk about draft scenarios, we talk about different different interactions within the game while we're at dinner. So it's really cool. We get to just brainstorm together all day long. So we really eat, sleep, and breathe this game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I lived at the Evil Geniuses house for a while, but it was all StarCraft players, and so it's a little bit different. I'm always curious what a team house would be like with a team game where you guys really have to communicate and strategize together.
Yeah, I'm sure it's different because, as you said, StarCraft is like a very solo game. It's like everyone's just worried about their own matchups and everything. But as a team, it's a lot of communication, a lot of confirming with your teammates what is good, what is not good, figuring out each other's strengths and weaknesses so you can capitalize to the nth degree of how good you can make it work out. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied.
No, that's fine. So do you guys have like when you go and you practice together, do you just kind of scrim and then talk about each match, or do you have like a set, like do you have drills like you would in sports, or how do you guys organize your practice time?
Our practice time is usually we come in at noon and we look over replays for about 2 hours. We look over, it's usually the replays from yesterday because we don't like to look over the replays that night because if it's a good scrim, if you feel good about it, you're going to overlook mistakes that you probably did. You're like, oh, I'm so good, look at this. Or if it was like a bad scrim, say you had a bad night or something, you're really going to be down and not get as much out of it as you should. So we come in at noon and look over the replays from last night, and it just works out really, really well because we can all be super analytical. We're all fully awake by noon, except for me. I'm usually the late one. So, but hopefully we're fully awake by noon, which is not the case for me most of the time. And then we go from replays straight into scrim blocks, dependent on what the other teams are available. We usually have about 3 scrim blocks a day with various teams.
And when you say a block, that's just like a block of time you guys have
a block of time, 2 hours, 3 hours.
Cool. Well, it seems to have served you pretty well so far. Let's talk a little bit about the road to BlizzCon and the NA Opens. And why don't you tell us?
I want to ask one quick question.
Yeah, yeah.
Really quick. Who is your, now that you guys are all together and you've moved in, Flowering and Iacona, who is your bestie in real life?
That's a good
Who's
question.
my bestie?
Yeah, who's your bestie?
Ooh, and all your teammates are listening, and they're gonna be mad if it's not them.
Because I've met in real life a bunch of your teammates, especially Iacona and Glaurung. So I want to know who's your bestie.
I wouldn't say there's a bestie. I'm trying to be very PC. I'm trying to be very PC.
Don't. This is a safe place. Tell us.
Yeah, no one's listening. Only like all the audience.
Right. Who's your your pinky friend? Come on.
I definitely think I get along most, and I like to spend the most time with Glaurung.
Oh.
Aww, that's
Even though he's like the newest addition, I find myself like really similar to him. So we're able to have one-on-one like conversations and team bonding, just us two. It's super cute.
Aww, that's super cute.
His hair is beautiful. Make sure you mention it.
No comment.
It is.
I don't want to give him a big head.
Well, he has one already. It's okay.
Actually, if it wasn't Glaurung, who I'd say is my bestie, I would say that it's our team manager, Dylan, is my bestie.
Aww.
There you go. The guy doing the
Is that just because he's your boss, so you're trying to butter him up?
He's not our boss, but we're all equals here, so I get to say that.
Good,
but
that's good.
Yeah, the team dynamic is everybody has their own relationships with each other. Like, Glaurung likes to troll me a lot, so it's a lot of like him trying to make me upset and me just not caring about his attempts. And then Iacona is a super big troll, and he tries to troll everyone, not just me. So he's kind of the goofball. And then Sai's more the quiet, analytical guy, and he's really cool to hang out with. And
hospital.
Ooh, I don't know. He's a wild card. I know. I'm saying this because I know he's listening.
All right.
He's pretty cool. I hang out with him, I'd say, the second most amount, because we just go shopping and stuff for like groceries and stuff together.
Sounds like the adult.
I would say he's the adult, yeah.
Well, that said, I think it's really good that we got that rundown, because it's really important to us to know the social structure of the house as well as the tournament structure. So you're right, Kai. It was important that we get that before we move on. But I do want to talk about the NA Opens. Yeah, it is. It is very important. Let's talk a little bit about the format of the NA Open and about the Heroes World Championship in general. What do you think of the tournament format as somebody who's in it, in the trenches?
Well, last Open, the June Open, there was no seeding for it. It was all randomized, and it was just like the luck of the draw, see how easy or how hard your bracket was. And I would definitely say that we got one of the harder brackets for the June Open, where we had to meet up against Cloud9 Maelstrom in the round of 16, which we played really, really well in that entire tournament. And we didn't beat Cloud9, but we played one of the most intense best of threes of my entire life. We took them to game three. We took them to game three. We on Sky Temple, we got to the 30-minute mark, which is almost unheard of in competitive play, because naturally the map objective finishes the game basically for you. At around 22 minutes, the triple temple phase starts. So that's usually the game's over, one team wins. But it went on for 30 minutes, went to a second shrine phase after that with 2 more boss fights. It was really, really intense.
I've never even seen a temple phase after the triple temple phase. Is it 3 more? Or what?
No, it's random after that.
Oh, really?
It was 2 when it was top and bottom in that game.
I've never seen one after the 3 either. I'm with Anna.
Yeah, you've been somewhere where none of us have gone before, Shot.
No man has walked.
But so the June Open was really, really fun for us, and it gave us a lot of hope as a team. Like, oh, we can contend with these top dogs, because we didn't really have a chance to show our strengths in real competition besides like scrimming. And a tournament and scrims are completely different atmospheres, so it's how each team takes it and see if you can live up to the hype. And we definitely feel like we performed really well, and we showed that we could contend with them. And that was after our roster was finalized for only 3 days. So
oh, jeez.
we felt really confident afterwards.
Yeah,
but
I bet.
we accepted our defeat, and we're just like, all right, moving forward, we got to get ready for the July Open. Which the July Open, there was tons of tournaments in between for seeding points, which helped your bracket placement. And we were more fortunate, I would say, in the July. We didn't face Cloud9 again. Tempo Storm won the June, but they participated again, so they were top seed. And we are on the opposite side of the bracket as Tempo Storm, which is really unfortunate because I really want to play Tempo Storm. We haven't played in a competitive setting in forever against Tempo, but ever since, I feel like the few Go4s when I was on Shot in the Bullets Reloaded, which is a long time ago.
I like that neck movement. Shot in the Bullets Reloaded.
That's my nervous neck movement.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, it looks fun.
Well, I actually wanted to compliment you on that name. It's like a band name. It's
yeah. Actually, it was an amateur team prior to me joining this team, and then they decided to add the Reloaded to make it like the sequel. And I was like, oh my gosh, it wasn't my idea either. Neither times were my idea.
Really?
So everyone thinks like I'm cocky, and they're like, oh, he named the team after himself.
I totally did assume it was your idea.
Yeah, neither times were my idea.
Well, for all the other players on your team, your name does lend itself best to a team name.
Exactly.
That's
but anyway, moving back to the July Open, we were in a different bracket. We saw teams that we never really played before, unestablished teams, like not as established teams, with just groups of guys that were really, really fun to play against, and they were really good sports and super fun to play against. And then we faced Zevron in the round of 16, which we knew, again, oh, this is going to be a really big challenge. Zevron's a really good team. We've met up multiple times at tournaments. They've bested us. We've bested them. So a lot of people weren't sure on how that series was going to go. The first game was pretty definitively we won, and then the second game we came back with a boss fight when we were down 3 keeps. So it was super, super tense for us, and then we pulled it out and we celebrated, and we're trying to get the security footage of our celebration afterwards.
That's great. I didn't even think of that. So there's like a camera on you that you can use. That's awesome. What was the celebration like?
It was mostly us just all jumping out of our chair, except for Hospital. He was just sitting there chilling. He's like, all right, we won. Nice.
Just being the adult, right?
Yeah.
All right.
There's me jumping out of my chair, hugging Sai, and Glaurung going for a high five, which he didn't get from Sai. He's gonna kill me for bringing it up, because he's like, I hope nobody sees it in the video.
Oh, I hope they do see it. I hope
right?
it's on YouTube forever.
Him just like going for the high five. He's like, oh, all right, that's cool.
Dude, we'll put it to music. It'll be like that famous Idra high five.
Oh, dude, it will. History repeats itself.
But anyway, so the top 8 is coming up this weekend, and I'm pretty excited for it. It's going to be really, really tough competition, because we face Complexity the first round, and
a good game.
And it's going to be a very good game. We play against Complexity a lot, and they're a very, very good team, and we think that we have a good chance against them, but at the same time, you never know how these things are going to hash out. If we do happen to beat Complexity, then we are expecting to meet Cloud9 again in the semis. Cloud9 Maelstrom, that is. And we hope we can take them there. Again, we're prepping for Complexity, we're prepping for Maelstrom, we're prepping for all the teams, but we're mostly prepping for Complexity right now because they're our first opponents, and got to get over the first hump before you can move on to the second.
Absolutely.
Anna, let's cast that game. That sounds like a good one.
Okay, let's do it.
In my head, that's one's gonna be good.
I think it'll be okay. Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good game. Yeah, I think a lot of these games are going to be really good, and it's been so much fun being involved in the NA Open, especially after our involvement with the Heroes Hype Challenger Series, and before that, the Heroes Hype Amateur League, because I remember casting Shot in the Bullets back in the day, you know, and so I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask you before we talk a little bit more about like what you guys are doing to prepare for the top 8, is just kind of, as somebody who has been on an amateur team and now is on a pro team, a lot of our viewers are people who either would really love to become pro gamers or who are just starting out an amateur team. So what is the experience like when you're brand new and you're just coming in? How do you kind of navigate that?
A lot of it's really rough being brand new in a scene, not having a name. Nobody really knows you. It's all about networking, basically. It's playing Hero League copious amounts of hours until someone notices you. Hey, you're really good, and you think they're really good. You're like, hey, you want to play together? And then you play together, and then they introduce you to their friends, and they introduce you to their friends, and it's a bunch of networking, really. But it's really, really rough. It takes months and months, if even years, to just create those friendships, to create those relationships, to go from a no-name, which I definitely was. I came in from being a challenger, no-name league player, to Heroes, trying to make my name, and it took a very long time. It definitely takes dedication. It takes talent, obviously. And you just have to stick to it and try to be friendly with as many people as you can, and eventually you'll meet the right people.
Do you think that there are lots of opportunities? Because a lot of times the question is like, how do I break in, you know? Mm-hmm. Right now, it seems to me, like I said, having come from like, there's the amateur leagues and there's opens and there's challenger leagues and all that, it feels like there's right now a climate of like, it's really easy to make a name for yourself if you're good at Heroes. Do you think that's true as someone who's actually in it?
To participate in amateur series, I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Yeah, I know. I'm very long-winded. It's my own fault. So if I'm a new Heroes player, and like you said, I want to not only do the networking thing, but I want to come in and prove that I have super good skills, right? It seems to me like there's lots of places for me to do that. Sometimes in other esports, like maybe it's hard to actually get your team into a tournament, but it seems like it's pretty easy right now for Heroes. Do you think so?
For Heroes, I definitely think there's a lot of avenues that you can go to. There's the Heroes Hype Amateur Series, which you and Gilly cast a lot. That's actually a great place. I was in it multiple weeks when I wasn't on a very established team, or I was trying to start a team with a few of my buddies.
And actually, it's not even the Amateur League anymore. It's the Challenger Series.
Oh, so right. The Challenger.
Yeah, but you can still, any team can join, and you can get seeding points out of it. Right,
so. For the next Open. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, that's super exciting because it's an open tournament. Anyone can join almost all the tournaments in the scene right now are pretty much open to everybody. Which...
Yeah, there's only a couple that are invitational.
Exactly. Like the WCA Professional Invitational was a while ago, but that was like one of the only invitational tournaments that we really heard about. Which, it's super exciting because all this fresh blood, all this raw talent can get together, form a team, try to make their way through a bracket, face against the professionals in the scene if they decide to play that tournament. You get to see how you match up. And it's like, oh, we did really well. Let's try it next week. Or, oh, we didn't do so great. Let me find another team or whatever. I would definitely say try to stick to it with your one team and then practice and move forward. But there's just a lot of opportunity for... I don't want to say amateurs because it's kind of a rude term, but...
No, you can
newcomers.
Amateur's a thing. Amateur series. It's true. You're right.
But there's a lot of room for amateurs to try to make their names in these open tournaments.
Yeah. Everyone starts as an amateur.
Yeah.
That's where you have to start from.
My favorite part is definitely the ability for an amateur team to take on a professional team in a tournament setting.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I love seeing that in the Challenger series even now, and seeing
yeah,
games come out of it.
It's great when a big important like team fight happens and it goes the way of the amateurs. That's super exciting. You're like, a lot of people go into the games like, oh, the pros are probably just gonna win this game, and then when it becomes an exciting game, it's super hype. Everyone's like on the edge of their seats, like, oh, what's gonna happen? Are these guys gonna make a name for themselves? Are they gonna break it into the scene? It's just really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Well, and where was the point, because I want to transition to talking a little bit about what you have to expect in the round of 8 and how you're getting ready for that, but when was the point that you kind of looked around and you were like, you know what, I'm not an amateur anymore, my team is not an amateur team, I'm a competitive pro gaming style team?
It took a while for me to realize that. It was really weird. I moved out here. I still thought it. I was like, all right, we're just still trying to make our way in here. Even though we started getting paid, we got housing for free, basically, which is part of the payment. But it took about 2 weeks for me to really for it to settle in and be like, wow, I'm a professional gamer now. This is my job. I wake up, do it 7 days a week. It was really surreal for me. It was, I don't know. I'm still freaking out about it.
Rookie man, you're living the dream.
I'm living the dream.
Dream. That's awesome.
I know, not many people get to do that. It must be really surreal to kind of look around you and see that you are living it.
I've been wanting to be a professional, or at least I looked up to professional gamers for about 4 years, and that entire time during the 4 years, I'm like, oh, I'm better than these people. I can be them. I can compete against them. Not in this game alone, just other games in general. And just to finally make it was super amazing for me. It was, I don't know how to explain it.
We're proud of you. You deserve it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hard work pays off. Well, on that note, I wanted to say, before we switch to talking a little bit about the patch and how things are going there, but you are now, my overlay's broken, just a second. You are now in the running for the Championship of Heroes. You are looking toward BlizzCon and hoping to be one of the teams that competes for that $1.2 million,
yes,
which is pretty amazing. So tell me a little bit about where you are now in terms of what you've already accomplished prize-wise, and then what you predict you guys are going to be able to do.
So right now we've made the $800 from being the top 8, which is the $800 split amongst all 5 of us, and we predict that we're going to do really well in the tournament. We predict, realistically, it's not easy to say, oh, we're going to take first place easy. I predict us seeing us take either first, second, or third, which I can't really say for sure. I'm going to take first, I'm going to take second, I'm going to take third. It's really close with all the teams, but I definitely think our team has an edge on the other teams in the tournament. I think we are more dedicated just because we do this every single day and do it for a lot of hours. Not to say that the other teams aren't dedicated, that all the other pro teams are just like, oh, we're just here to play games. But I definitely think that we have a very good shot at making it to the top 3. And that would be great because assuming, since Tempo Storm's been winning mostly every tournament.
Yeah, I wanted to say about that. Okay. So and it was asked in chat at least 4 times. So
yeah.
we mentioned C9 Maelstrom.
Right.
And how you're looking forward to possibly facing them again. How would you feel about facing Tempo Storm?
Well, Tempo Storm's been that team that's been pretty dominant as of late. They've been winning every tournament. They've been facing mostly Cloud9 Maelstrom in finals, and they've been beating them, so they're the team to beat, really. However, they've already qualified for the regionals, which is the next step after the Open League, or the Open Tournament, which allows the second, if they say in a hypothetical world they do come in first again, then the second place team and the third place team make it to regionals to go compete against them in regionals in Burbank, California. So I would love to face Tempo Storm in either the winners finals or the grand finals, or both, preferably. And I definitely think the way our team operates can definitely put up a very, very tough challenge against the way their team operates. Our playstyles are different.
Yeah, Tempo Storm is a little unique.
Mm-hmm. So I foresee us being able to take them to a very good series. I definitely think we can beat them because we've been preparing for every team recently, and the way we've been playing, if we are on our A game, I definitely think we are a force to be reckoned with, and that we can dethrone Tempo Storm. Shots fired.
Oh, that was so good.
Tweet it quick. You heard it here first.
That was so good.
Oh my gosh, that quote for real. Thank you. That's our soundbite. But I'm looking at the way that the Road to BlizzCon is set up, and we're talking about the round of 8 for the July NA Open. So July NA Open is one of 3 opens. From those 3 opens, there will be teams that will come together for the North American Championship. Mm-hmm. And from there will be the America Championship, which will be with Latin America, Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. And then from there, 2 teams from that entire competition get to go to BlizzCon. So we're still far, far off, but
light years away.
Yeah.
Definitely. In esports time, that's a long time.
Yeah. So looking at that, how do you feel like the North American scene matches up with all those other scenes, and where do you think that puts Cognitive?
Do you mean that, what do I think of skill based? Like, is the North American scene better than other scenes, or how they match up?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Like, skill based wise? All right. This is going to be more shots fired, probably. So I definitely think that the Asian scene right now isn't as strong as it could be.
Oh boy, you're doing the Zoya now. Here we go.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of room to grow. I foresee Southeast Asia and the other regions getting way better and maybe surpassing NA. But there's always been that rivalry between European and North American scenes.
That huge rivalry, vicious.
And after watching DreamHack, which was last night, watching that and watching other tournaments, I've been watching all of the European tournaments. I like to watch every game I can find. I definitely think that the North American scene, with our emphasis on hyper-aggression, early game strategies, trumps the European scene. Because you see European games, they go like 30 minutes on average, because they have these late game compositions. They like prioritize Illidan Abathur, which is a great combination, Illidan Abathur, but it's very late game focused. And so I see North America taking these early game compositions more often than European, and it would make us able to steamroll a game in our favor so heavily that they would not be able to make it back into the game.
Now, Illidan Abathur is something we maybe played a lot last patch. That kind of fell out of favor when Illidan lost his invincibility frames. They're still playing it, though.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
It's the way that Illidan works. He fell out of flavor here in North America because he wasn't overly overpowered.
Yeah.
Basically. He was pretty strong last patch. You saw in Heroes of the Dorm, every single game they took Illidan, they won that game. It was whichever team got Illidan basically won, which was pretty ridiculous to say the least. But with his nerf to his invincibility frames, where he can't dodge CC with a dive anymore, it forces players to be a lot more situationally aware with the character and to be better mechanically at the character. Like, their positioning can't be as sloppy as it used to be able to. So if you see a really, really good player on Illidan, like, I'm going to toot my own team's horn here. Hospital's a very good Illidan player. Glaurung's a really good Illidan player. Fan from Cloud9 Maelstrom, he's a very good Illidan player. You'll see those players being able to make Illidan work. Because they understand, oh, Illidan got nerfed, but he's still extremely strong. His Metamorphosis got nerfed, it's less radius, less damage. However, that's not what made Metamorphosis a strong ability. What made Metamorphosis a strong ability is it was able to avoid all of this damage. It was able to heal up Illidan, give him an extra health pool, make him the tanky monster that he is.
Right, it was a save, not a
it was
damage.
Exactly. I mean, the damage never hurts, but well, technically, I guess it does hurt. But
yeah, it doesn't hurt you.
Right, you understand.
I'm with you. I'm feeling you.
Well, guys, we sorry to interrupt, but we're getting real close to when we need to start our play session for the day.
Okay.
And before we do that, I do want to give us a chance just to talk really briefly about the patch.
Okay.
And of course, before we move on from this, best of luck to Cognitive. I'm really excited to see you guys moving forward in the tournament.
Thank you.
And I think you're right that we have some great teams representing the North American scene, so I'm really excited to see you guys take on BlizzCon as well. So awesome, and thank you. And guys, if you're watching, don't forget to tweet at Shot and at Cognitive. Tell them thank you for being here and wish them best of luck, please. But we have just like 5 minutes to talk about all this patch stuff, and we have all these amazing things to talk about. So guys, just know that we had talked about this and prepped up some amazing stuff to talk to you about. But I guess the best way to do this, I think, is to talk first in general about the patch for you, Shop. What do you think is the biggest thing that changed overall in the meta because of this patch?
I think the focus on melee assassins is definitely here in the patch. With the patch, even though Illidan was nerfed, which he was one of the major melee assassins, we were introduced to the Butcher, the new character of the patch, and he came out and all the melee assassin players loved him. He does a ton of damage, he can initiate, he can gank. He's a really, really strong character, which allows melee assassins to not be banned out as much. It was really easy for an enemy team to be like, okay, we ban this melee assassin, we ban this melee assassin, and we pick this one. Now you get 0. But with the introduction of another melee assassin, it's just like people are able to take whatever they want. It's like you can't get banned out of it. If anything, the characters that are getting banned out the most are supports and tanks. And tanks are hurting right now. There's only really like 3 tanks that are really, really good right now, and one of them is the more the tank that you would fall back on if the other 2 are taken. Like Johanna Muradin are the top tanks right now, as just like soaking damage and causing a ruckus in a team fight. But Arthas, which we didn't really see much last patch, has risen up, and he's making a resurgence of the storm.
That was planned.
He's making his way back into the meta with a lot of Syndragosa play, which is super exciting. And a lot of because how the metas worked is sieging is really, really hard this patch. It is hard to dive a keep, to poke down a keep. If someone has a Kael'thas, it's really risky to overstay their welcome. But with the ability of Syndragosa or Sylvanas to disable turrets, your team is just able to walk into the enemy team and try to wipe them out and then take the keep afterwards.
Yeah, it seems like we've seen, because of some of these changes, even more aggression, like aggressive play, and I really like that. It's fun for me to watch.
Yeah, it's really fun to see in the tournaments and to cast or to watch. Either way, because it's definitely not boring. The team fights are fast and wild and nonstop.
And going along with the melee assassin power spike that we're seeing, I like to point out that Tyrande is actually making a really big comeback in the scene. Last patch she wasn't very good. Promote was really big last patch, and Tyrande has no wave clear basically. She has a really hard time destroying those promoted minions, so a lot of wave clear emphasis was last patch. This patch is more pick-off centric, and so Tyrande is able to roam with those melee assassins, able to mark the enemies that are being jumped on in order for these melee assassins to do their work. Also, she's able to keep them sustained up. She has prot shield, she has a heal, and a big thing about Tyrande is she has the ability to give sight for your team with her owl. I don't really know what the ability is called.
Sentinel.
Sentinel.
Called owl, don't worry about it.
I play the game, we call it owl.
Yeah, everyone calls it owl anyway.
So she's able to owl across the map, and now you can't see siege damage on the. If you tab, you cannot watch siege damage rise if an opponent is in the jungle doing a camp. Say they're on boss in Cursed Hollow, and you press tab. You can't see the damage number going up. They're like, oh, they're off map. And their siege is going up. They're probably on boss. There's none of that anymore, and Tyrande allows you to get sight of a enemy camp from across the map. Like, oh, there they are. We could probably go stop that. So she just brings a lot more utility to the table this patch, and she's just overall way stronger than she was previously.
Yeah, I've seen her almost 100% picked or banned in the last few sessions I've casted. People are really loving her.
Especially against those teams that are more aggressive focused. Because if you are taking an aggressive character, you can bet that they're looking for Tyrande as well, probably.
You said a lot of healers being banned out. I've seen a lot of that where someone will take their healer and then their bans will be 2 other healers, forcing the other team to even take Lily. I love having seen Lily play 3 times because everybody else was taken. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting to see that character that wasn't really seen ever in the past 2 patches. People have considered that she was really, really bad. And she needs a rework and this and that. Like, oh, you just need to buff her numbers or just buff her in general. But the reason why she's seen a lot more play now is also because one of the supports was nerfed. Brightwing was basically butchered this patch. No pun intended. Dude.
That's why when you said Lily, it's so cool to see Lily play, I was kind of like, because I'm a huge Brightwing fan, and the fact that Brightwing got so nerfed that people can't choose
pepperoni.
Yeah, that they can't use her and they choose Lily instead, like, Lily certainly has her uses, but a lot of times there's a situation where I feel like she's only picked because Brightwing sucks more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know. I'm a little sad about it.
It's because people realized, oh, this character is really, really good in team fights. She has a lot of sustain in team fights. Also, she has that global presence. That's really strong for a healer to be able to get this global soak and then come into a team fight and be able to heal up an entire team. So her healing numbers were knocked down more, and she's become more of a utility support. She has that new talent Peekaboo, where if an enemy team just so happens to get Zeratul, you can shift in on an opponent and it'll basically put clairvoyance around that area for a while. Or she's used mostly for her polymorph, which is extremely strong, even though it got nerfed itself by half a second or so. It's still a very, very strong CC ability, and that's mostly why she's used, is if you need to lock someone down or if you need that sight. But you're right, she's often a last resort pick this patch now, and Lily has become more the power pick over Brightwing. Which is really, really sad for Brightwing, but it's really, really good for Lily.
Yeah, that's true. It is. I guess it's time for the Panda's Day in the Sun, I suppose.
Next is Chen, please.
No barrels. No barrels.
You don't like the barrel? The barrel's the best. Anyway, so I mentioned Zeratul, right?
Yeah.
Zeratul is super, super strong in this patch. And if you watch the drafts of the top tier competitive experience, say like Complexity versus Cloud9 Vortex, you almost always see Zeratul banned. You'll almost never see him get through, and if you do see him get through, it's likely that that team is probably going to be having an advantage going into the game. Zeratul with his auto attack build right now with a focused attacks follow through, he is very, very strong, and he might be a little overtuned right now.
He took Illidan's spot.
Yeah, basically. Illidan was typically banned a lot, like 2 patches ago. Last patch he was able to sneak through more, but 2 patches ago Illidan was almost always banned, and now it's Zeratul that's should be always banned.
Do you think
also, he's super annoying to play against. He has invisibility and he has mobility, which is really frustrating for backline carries like myself.
And escape for days. Good luck locking him down or catching him.
If you catch him, throws a void prison down, walks away.
Whee!
For backline carries, it's really obnoxious.
Do you think we're going to see changes on him very soon, or do you think it's going to be like patches upon patches before we do?
I don't think we'll see it a huge amount of changes this next patch. I think we're going to see slight nerfs to follow through and focused attacks. Because other characters are starting to take follow through and focused attacks as well, and it's just becoming really strong combination of talents. And a lot of people would say, oh, it does too much damage, which some would argue that's correct. Some would argue, oh, it's just fine. But I can foresee a lot of small nerfs to those talents or changes.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, we need to move on to our play session, but Kai, do you have any questions you wanted to get, burning questions before we move on?
No, I really like the Raynor is not viable.
Yeah. If you guys could see our notes, you would see we have an outline, and one of the biggest things that Shot added.
That's my favorite thing that I just wanted to hit on. Just stop Laynoring.
Yeah.
The Raynor, just stop doing that, please. It's not a thing. It'll never be a thing.
They sent me an outline, and they're like, oh, just add whatever you want to the outline. So, and they're like, oh, what about these Raynor picks that we're seeing? I put in all caps, Raynor is not viable. Stop picking him.
It's so true, though. Especially if you solo queue, like Hero League. Like, stop trying to make it a thing. It's nothing. Please. That's it. That's all I wanted to make sure we said that.
Absolutely.
We did see him picked in the NA Open on this weekend, and both Gilly and I, who were casting together, we were like, who's it going to be? Here's some predictions. And it was Raynor, and both of us were kind of like,
We actually took Raynor in ESL Major League this last game that we had. Oh, we won, but it was Glaurung was having fun.
All right,
of course it was Glaurung.
Of course, right? You can actually go back. If you look at all of our team's Twitters, you can see us arguing on Twitter who gets to play Raynor.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of having fun, it is time for us to take a brief break and get into our play session. But you did hear Shot mention Tyrande, and we meant to talk a lot more about her in this segment, but didn't have time because there's so many good things to talk about with Shot. Shot, you've been an amazing guest. We're going to have you back so we can talk about all the things.
Absolutely. But, I got a little carried away with some of the balance and tournaments.
That's why you're here.
You did good.
We want you to get carried away. That's your purpose here. But
no, my job is to carry, not to be carried away.
So we do have not just 1, but 3 Tyrande builds from Shot. And which one are you going to play in our play session for us to follow along with?
In our play session, we're going to have me playing my first build, I think. Let me check really quick.
The one for when a melee assassin is present?
Yes, because I'm going to be having Hospital play either the Butcher, Kerrigan, or someone that will synergize well with Tyrande.
Cool.
So we are going to be using that build, if you could link that. So
I did. I have linked them in chat. I linked all 3 of them.
You were on top of things.
But guys, it is the first one that he's going to use. And just to summarize really quickly that build, so as people are looking at it, they can start to think about it. What's the philosophy behind that build? What are you really trying to make Tyrande do with that build?
The philosophy behind this build is to allow Tyrande to stick with her melee assassin and get a lot of ganks off early, to try to get those pickoffs, to keep her melee assassin up, and if the melee assassin does connect with his target, you are able to help him blow him up.
Awesome. All right, well, I'm really excited to watch that. Guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to take just a really brief break while we set up our custom game, and then we will be right back. See you soon.
See you in a minute.